Marketer of the Day, episode 554. Master your customer avatar. Scale internal processes, scale an agency, and make sales on Amazon merch. With Penji founder Johnathan Grzybowski.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're chatting with Johnathan Grzybowski from Penji.co. And Johnathan is a rogue risk taker turned entrepreneur, and he's a national thought leader in digital marketing and branding. And he's the co-founder of Penji, which is an unlimited graphic design service for marketing teams. And they provide jobs and internship opportunities to Camden students and residents. So Johnathan, glad to be talking to you.
Yeah, likewise, man. Excited to talk more about my journey, life, and hopefully bring some value to the people listening today.
Yeah, I mean, I think we will. And so, just to sort of get started here, I love this concept of I think the term is a service as a service. And I've seen a couple of other, I think I've seen like a WordPress company do something like this. Some other graphic company have this model of basically you pay a flat monthly fee, and then it's basically an all-you-can-eat buffet sort of thing. Like any amount of graphics work that you want is done for this flat fee. And I love this concept, but at the same time, I've never paid for this sort of service myself, and I've had some friends who also talked about it but never actually used it. So I'm really excited to jump in and kind of hear about why more people need to be utilizing this sort of service. So can you kind of give me the quick sales pitch? Tell me about this Penji thing you have going on.
Absolutely, yeah. So Penji actually started as an accident. To be honest with you, we were an agency at the time. I'd say a year or so ago now, and so we had the agency for about 5 years, and we were really trying to create a tool internally for ourselves in order to scale our internal processes and procedures. I think if you're doing any form of content, you need to find a way to be able to talk to your team in an effective manner and be able to facilitate revisions whenever needed. And we used the tool internally for a little bit of time, and then we realized we're like, well, wow, this thing is actually much bigger than what we envisioned, and it could help more people. And I'd say that's the overarching theme of what it is that we do, which is we're helping people solve a legitimate problem with design. And so Penji is an unlimited graphic design service, all at one flat monthly rate. And as you said, you can kind of buffet style get as many designs as you can. But we're really geared towards the agencies and the content creators, the people who are constantly in need of content. They can get anything from a logo designed, they can get a t-shirt designed, they can get a website designed, app designed, pitch deck, social media content. The list goes on and on. And the way that we work is we work one at a time. So although it is unlimited, we only work on one project at a time, but there's no limit to what we can actually get done on a monthly basis.
All right. Well, awesome. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. That if we have those huge needs and we have to be cranking out that sort of stuff, if we have tons of content, or we're getting like all kinds of like social traffic, things like that, we don't have to have this big budget or do all this management and stuff. So you say that, so it's basically an unlimited amount of graphics work, anything from logos, t-shirt, website, app, social content, things like that, and it's one at a time. So I mean, what does that like one at a time look like? Like, can you walk me through maybe like a sample like use case? Like, could I say, well, I want, if I can I get 100 graphics at a time, like in a big batch, or like what does one at a time mean exactly?
Sure. So I'll just go through the entire onboarding process to what the customer gives. So the customer scenario could be, let's just say, a digital marketing agency, and then I'll even caveat to they dabble in t-shirt design, right? So the digital marketing agency has 5 or 6 clients, and some of them are like big names like Apple, Samsung, whoever else. And what they do is, as soon as they sign up for the service, they are met with a pretty intuitive backend platform where you tell us exactly what is needed. So you click on, say, the logo button, because Apple needs a new logo, and you tell us exactly what Apple needs. So they want something gray, they want it to look like an apple. They here are the size dimensions that are needed, And then there's that project, right? That's project one. So we'll immediately begin working on that project as soon as you hit submit. Then the next project is like Samsung, and Samsung needs Instagram story content. And they need like a set of 5 things within their story. So you tell us the dimensions of what the Instagram story is. You tell us what you want within the story, because usually when you use a story on Instagram, you have to kind of like tap your thumb or finger a little bit in order to move and progress the design. That can be an entire batch. So although that is one design, you can ask for 5 things that are correlated within that same design project. And then the third thing would be, say, like you need a T-shirt, and the T-shirt could be, I love my dog, right? And instead of dog, you could replace dog with Shih Tzu, Yorkie, Beagle, and all these other things, and maybe have like 10 dogs that you want to put on there. That too is also one design. So we just did 3 projects for you. Our turnaround time is under 48 hours. So we'll deliver that thing in under 48 hours to you. The first project, every project is going to be 48 hours. And then on top of that, we literally just came up with a plan where we are delivering 16 designs, and it's probably going to take about, I'd say a week or so, pending revisions and things like that, about a week and a half, in order for you to receive 16 variations of designs that you will be able to use for your clients and for yourself.
Well, freaking amazing. So that sounds like that really kicks the butt of going to a freelancer site and having to deal with sort of the extra headache of this. So how the heck do you guys make money with this? Because, I mean, I would imagine that, when I first heard about this model, I was thinking, oh, well, like, what's the catch? Like, and you say that you have a 48-hour turnaround time, but when I hear, like, unlimited graphic design, my first instinct back when I heard about this model was like, oh, they're going to take, a week to deliver something back, or they're gonna do whatever to drag their feet to make it work their while. So how the heck do you guys make it work where you actually make money doing this?
So when it comes to the money aspect, I can say the unit economics of everything within the business, it's still something that we're still trying to understand and figure out. But for the overarching theme is that there are needs, and people have different sets of needs. So you in particular, Robert, you could have a need where you need 10, 15, 20 designs. And so you are looking at the economics behind it, and you're like, I want to be able to have make Penji give me a design that's $3 per design, right? There are people that are like that. And then there are people who just are a little bit more on the high end side and don't mind just getting 2 or 3 designs on a monthly basis. So if you're looking at it like a bell curve, you have like the people who are using it a lot, which is a lot of the majority of people automatically assume that a lot of people would use this service to destroy it. And of course, there are people that do use it every single day, like their Bible. And then there are other people who really don't use it at all. And then there's the people in the middle that kind of come in, and they're able to kind of just like work with us on as needed basis. But the reason why people hire us and the reason why people use us as their service is because they don't want to go out and interview multiple people in order to find their design, to get their design needs met. They want to be able to sign up for a service and immediately be able to talk to somebody, which is exactly what we allow our members to do. We don't want you to go and go through the trouble of interviewing 5, 10, 15 people only to hear the words, yes, I can do it. And then once they do it, they don't do it to the way that you want. As soon as we're building a brand where we want you guys to have the confidence that you're working with a reputable team that can do the job for you.
Super awesome. That makes perfect sense that you have those sort of 3 different like categories of members, right? That some of them are like going to use the heck out of it, and others just use it sometimes. And the advantage to them is that they don't have to go through all those different hassles of trying this person, trying that person, waiting for the turnaround time. They just can get it done. And so is that something that you and your team sort of keep an eye on? Like, do you look to like balance that out, maybe like an insurance company does, where seeing if there's like too many on the high end or the low end? Is there any sort of monitoring like that, or is it just growing the business any way you can?
I think that's a really good question. And To be fair, I think we're at a place where we just want to be able to deliver a quality service. We're still not even a year old yet. We have over 200 customers, and we've been able to grow exponentially within this past year. But when it comes to just like figuring out like, hey, we need more of these types, we need more of that type, I say we're still in the phase of just genuinely helping people out as much as we possibly can, and then letting our data speak for itself once we collect it on a biweekly basis, where we're just looking at data and saying like, who are the types of people that we're selling, that we're helping, who are the types of people that are buying. How many revisions are they submitting? How many requests are they submitting? So these are all things that we are closely monitoring, but I don't necessarily think that we're actively trying to find one particular set of customer. We know the types of people that need us. We know the types of people that can use us to the best of their ability and are happy using us. And so it's just trying to find more people like that we can just naturally serve.
All right, fair enough. So you're not necessarily trying to steer it in one direction or the other, but you're keeping a close eye on those metrics. And so,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I can say that we do know the types of people that are the happiest. And I think that's one of the most important things in business from a marketing perspective is I think a lot of businesses, and we were a victim to this when we were an agency, was, hey, let's just go and sell our service to everybody. And that is totally like that can work for a lot of businesses, but if you look out and you find the successful businesses that are out there that are delivering a service, they can literally tell you who it is that they service, what do they like to do for fun, and probably what they like to eat for breakfast every single day. And we're probably not that granular just yet, but you need to be able to speak to your audience in a way where like you're using the words, their pain points against them, so to speak. Because if you're not able to speak their language, then you're not going to be able to sell to them. And so that's what, like for us, we were an agency. And so we knew that this was a pain point for us. So now we're in the process is because we have all these different types of agencies that are under our belts and customers, we're talking to them and saying, hey, why did you even sign up for this in the first place? Why did you do this? What makes it so important to you? How were we able to help your business? And then it's the same standpoint of another customer segment that we work with, which is the Amazon merch community, people creating T-shirts and things like that. You know, we're working with them, with some of the top influencers within that particular sector and asking them and saying, hey, we want to be able to build this product exactly the way that you want it to be, so it services exactly who it is, like you. It serves you. It can help you scale your side hustle or your business. What do we need in order for this product to speak to you? So getting that data that is so critical, it's monumental to the way that you should be building your business today.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm right there with you that knowing that customer avatar is so important. And I mean that's one of those like reminders that I think everyone needs to hear all the time, because I mean you hear about that all the like constantly from different marketers, and I think you hear a lot of people talk about it, but then when it comes to doing it, that seems to be like really lacking. And it's like the first years that I was in business, I had a lot of copycats, and at first I was sort of bent out of shape when I like make a product or I'd make a piece of software and someone else would like clearly have sort of ripped it off. But then after a while, it stopped bothering me because they would totally miss the mark, and it would be a matter of they would just copy what they saw in the marketplace as opposed to reverse engineering. They would just like copy that topmost layer of what they saw, and they weren't digging deep and seeing, well, why does this thing exist and what problems does it solve and who's it solving for? And if they went after those customers and they solved something for them, then they'd create something that was more unique or like one step more innovative, or even they'd maybe find a different space for them to sort of cover there. But I mean, it's a lot of people, instead of going after that customer avatar, they just kind of copy what they see, and it's a real shame. and it's creating more work for themselves in the long term. So it's great that that you kind of have that attitude of like, who we're going to serve, and then know them inside and out, and then give them that thing. And so Amazon merch, I love that we're talking about that, because it's like you and I said before this call, like I've heard about it a little bit. I've heard that it's like sort of Amazon's version of Teespring, where you can say, like, I want to make a t-shirt, and you upload the graphics, or like maybe like a cafe press as well, sort of thing. But I don't know very much about it. So can you kind of give me like the, I don't know, 1 to 2 minute explanation of like what Amazon merch is and how that's different?
Yeah, sure. So Amazon merch is something that's even relatively new to me. I found out about it by accident, I'd say about 2-3 months or so ago. And it's just been, I would have never have thought this entire lifetime that when we started our business, Penji, that we would be servicing and our happiest customers, some of our happiest customers are within the Amazon merch community. So what would happen is you would create a t-shirt design. You designed a t-shirt and you submit it to all these PODs, which is a print on demand, and you submit all these designs to these print on demand websites, and then people start buying them through algorithms, search engines, etc. And then once they buy it, you get a commission off of it. And so that the print on demand aspect, it could be as simple as like, the example I gave you, which is I love my dog, and just replace dog with like your dog. Could be a beagle, could be like a Yorkshire Terrier, whatever it is. And people buy that stuff. People buy those T-shirts, and the commission on it can be pretty substantial. It could be anywhere between like $4 to $9, or whatever that pricing structure is. But a lot of people can make a stable income when it comes to that, or at least a supplemental income, a passive income. And so like the overarching theme that I would say is, don't shun yourself away from opportunities, because this was a market that we had no intention. Like we did, I'd say like customer avatars, 100 of them easily. And we're like, who are the types of people that need us? How are we going to service them? What are we going to do? And Amazon merch, or like the print on demand, never came up in conversation, not once. We had no idea. And so then now we're servicing them, and we're helping a lot of them out with what it is that they need. So that would just be the overarching theme, is don't shy away from opportunity. Yes, it's okay to say no to things, but sometimes what you envision in the beginning isn't always what it ends up being.
Yeah, I love when that happens, when you get that initial batch of customers that buy some of your stuff, and then you realize that they have somewhat of an overlap with something else, and you build up and you see more and more people are using this tool for this purpose, and you're like, well, why fight that uphill battle? If people are using it for Amazon merch, why not kind of expand or pivot a little bit into that space, so that way you can directly talk to those people? And so as we're talking about all of these sort of graphics and things that your service provides, how creative is it? Because I know that like sometimes I go to like freelancing sites to get graphics made, and I find that I have to be ultra specific about what it is that I want, because I never quite know who I'm dealing with. And so for example, if I were to say like, well, I want 10 Amazon merch t-shirts made about like I love my dog and like different breeds of dog, I would have to go and research those 10 breeds or get the 10 graphics for those sorts of things. And so is it the same with Penji, or is it a matter of like how specific or how vague can the instructions be? Do we have to be like super specific about, I want, this is shirt number 1, shirt number 2, or do they do any of their own research? Can it be just like, I want 10 t-shirts, surprise me?
Yeah, so it's always helpful to obtain some inspiration, because like when you come up with an idea, you've seen it before, right? You've looked at some type of content that was made by someone, and you're like, I like this. This is good. And so any help is going to be beneficial. So here's the good thing about Penji though. Penji allows you the ability to talk to and communicate directly with the designer themselves. So yes, you are submitting the form online. Yes, you are telling us digitally what it is that you want from a graphic design perspective. But if you're vague and we feel as if that we don't understand what it is that you're trying to say, we will ask you for help. We will ask you and say, hey, Robert, I don't necessarily understand what look you're trying to go for. I uploaded something here into Penji. Can you take a look at it and tell me if this is the style that you're looking for? And then you would respond to us and say, yeah, this rocks. This is exactly what I want. And make me this version or this variation of it. Or you can always say, like, no, I'm actually not looking for this style. I'm thinking more so along the lines of X. So there is that back and forth communication. I think that's one of the true beauties of Penji, is that easy to use backend portal platform that gives you the ability to communicate, and you're not stuck within your email, because I think that's one of the most annoying and most cumbersome things that you can do from a business perspective, is having to go back and forth via email in order to get the things that you want. Sometimes you just want to be able to say, like, hey, like, just do it, just figure it out, and we'll go from there. And so Penji gives you that flexibility.
Okay, great. And there's something to be said about sort of those two aspects of that. Of number one, like, don't be afraid to ask for clarification or ask for help, because I mean, I'm sure that you've seen this, Johnathan, where I guess I don't know if it's the typical freelance experience or like the stereotype of the freelance experience is like, when you tell someone what you want.
People are robots.
yeah, they either act like robots, or maybe they're overseas, or there's a language barrier or something.
Exactly.
And then you tell them what you want, and then instead of them asking a couple of clarifying questions, not so much that they'll drag their feet and do nothing, but just a little bit, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then there's like the delay until the very last minute, until the deadline, and then when they come back is a rush job and not what you want, and you're just like, geez, I wish that they had just clarified a couple things a week ago while I was waiting for that. And then there's also something to be said about about working quickly, right? And not necessarily cutting corners, but like you said, if let's say that someone gives their requirements and you figure out about what they want, and then you make something quick and say, like, is this on the right track, or is this what you want, or things need to be changed? And so this is making a lot of sense as far as why you guys are superior, as opposed to going through all the headaches of basically like hiring a freelancer without a safety net. And so as you were expanding, have there been any really like disasters or growing pains, like maybe something with like getting the platform working, or getting the workers on your end up to speed? Any just sort of just craziness that happened as you were growing?
So I'd say when we first started Penji, this was back in June when we originally launched the idea. We didn't have any software. We didn't have any like technology that allowed us to effectively communicate with the end user. That was definitely a huge struggle, because we knew that this was something that like people needed. We knew that we were selling it. We knew that the service as a whole was beneficial, but we just used it. We just never had. Like, we validated the market without using any form of technology as a hindrance. And then once we built it, I think that was the pinnacle of what we thought was success at that time. And we just ended up finding out that was just like a moderate success. But I'd say the biggest thing, I'm kind of like talking it out within myself right now to give you a more better answers so that people can grab some value. But I'd actually like to kind of share a story in particular that I think was really important, that was the most monumental thing within our business, which was forgetting the past. And we were an agency, as mentioned before, and we did a lot of agency work. We worked with a lot of incredible companies. We did graphic design, we did web design, web development, app development, all that fun stuff. And I think what was the hardest thing to do was telling everybody on our team. We're about 30 plus now, and we were about 10 at the time. 10 to 12 at the time, was to looking at every single person and telling them that you're no longer associated with this agency, and that this agency doesn't exist anymore. Forget the past. Forget everything that we did before. That's not who we are anymore. Who we are is this company that helps people, that solves a legitimate problem, and does good for the community. And so that took a really serious conversation between us and the entire team to be able to re-educate them on like what this new direction is going to be.
Okay, great. And that's pretty powerful there, as far as, like you said, forgetting the past and not being stuck in the old ways of thinking. Because I mean, I think we all fall into that, and I can definitely relate to that in thinking about how things were done X number of years ago, and that just leads to a lot of limitations and a lot of playing it safe, and who wants that, right? The whole point why we're entrepreneurs in the first place is to take a risk, and take a bunch of risks, so that way we can get those big rewards, as opposed to just working some sort of 9-to-5 job. And so something that I've been sort of been doing lately is kind of upping my game with reading, and I'm always kind of these days on the lookout for just like new books, or just like books that startup people such as yourself have found really helpful. So does anything come to mind, like, or were there any books that you've read in the last few years that have been just really helpful as far as your startup success here?
So I would say the hits, like the classics, like the Beatles classic hits of all things business books. So, you have your 48 Laws of Power, you have your How to Win Friends and Influence People. You have just like the normal books that I'd say every single entrepreneur reads. I think you should read them, but I want to give a caveat to something. In the very beginning of my personal entrepreneur career, it's always been this idea of taking from other people, or giving this stealing ideas from people based off of what it is that they post on social media, what it is that they say, the vernaculars of how their mannerisms of what they do, and they use within their own marketing. And I ended up becoming somebody that I wasn't. I ended up becoming somebody else. I ended up becoming a variation of a combination of all these different people that I'm being influenced by in order to just run my own life. And so I would recommend that, yes, if you're going to read something, you need to be reading more books. You don't. And if you are going to be reading, if you're not going to be reading books, try and find a way to listen to or read content that is heavily edited. So, Robert, you have your process of how you vet people on your podcast. I do the same way on my podcast. You know that the people that are jumping on your show, they're not going to be like these schmucks that don't really know their way around out of a box. You're talking to really highly intelligent people. And so whatever it is that your form of content is, whether that's a book, whether that's a podcast, whether that's an article, just make sure that it's curated. The person is reputable. The person that you're listening to has stood the test of time and has a pretty decent background. And then listen to their advice. And then instead of copying them, find your own way to make their story or their experiences your own.
I love it, and I can definitely relate to that, as far as like, I don't know if there's a way to say it without sounding sort of pretentious, but there's message boards and there's Facebook groups where it's really tempting to just do a bunch of reading on message boards, and that's okay, but then you're not really sure who you're really listening to or reading from.
Exactly.
Right? You never know if they're brand new or a poser, or just like repeating something else that they said. And why not go to the source, or why not go to a better source? Because it seems like there's I know when I first got started those first couple of years, whenever I needed advice, instead of doing what I should have been doing, which was, reading books or listening to podcasts or going to a coach or something, I'd go and post on a message board, and then I'd get in hindsight, some really bad advice, right? Like, what do I charge for this? People would say, oh, make it free, charge $1, or should I go in this direction? And then people would sometimes, express their own doubts and insecurities into the advice, or just give the bad advice. Or then there's that trap of things becoming really comfortable, and then you post, you like ask a question already knowing what you'd like the answer to be, and then basically sifting through all the 20 different answers to find the one that you want, which is like, I mean, without that self-awareness, you might not even realize that's happening. So really good advice there as far as just knowing that the Facebook groups and message boards, things like that, they are what they are. It's fine that they're there, but that's some kind of the low quality, I guess, risky content. And things like the books, the podcasts, the more curated stuff, that's more of what we want. And we need to listen to that with the intention not to pick it apart and dissect and clone what we hear, but to use their advice for ourselves because we're on our own path, no one else is. So
exactly.
I mean, this is really great. I mean, some new great pieces of advice here, and some really important reminders, I think, for all of us. And so I want to make sure that people know all about Penji and about all the any kind of resources or links that you want to drop here. So, I mean, what do you have for us after people listen to our conversation today? Where should they get up and go right now?
Well, I would love for them to, if they like what it is that I stand for, I'd say that I am the summation of our entire team of talented professionals here in the office of Penji. If you guys need any form of graphic design, if you want to work with a pretty talented and fun company, I'd say that's us. We love what we do. We work hard. We play hard. You could head over to penji.co. You can even just go through and read everything about what it is that we do, how we do it, and just see if we're the right fit. And we're not always going to be the right fit for everybody, but I can say that every time that somebody hires us and uses us as their service, they're not only providing an opportunity for themselves to obtain content, but they're also giving opportunities to students and residents in the city of Camden, New Jersey, which is something that's near and dear to our hearts. We're located right outside Philadelphia, and every time that we hire somebody in the United States, it's from somebody from Camden or has some close tie with Camden, relatively student or resident. So you're providing job opportunities to people all across the world.
Fantastic. So you're giving back in that way. I love it. So the website is penji.co. And I realize that this might change, or this might be sort of a loaded question, but when people go to penji.co right now, what's the pricing like there? What can they expect?
So the pricing is twofold. There is a $349 option that's primarily used for entrepreneurs, primarily used for one particular business. So if you are a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, a marketer, maybe you are part of like your internal marketing company, or maybe you just need graphics done for your t-shirts. The $349 option, the professional plan, is the exact way that you want to go. But if you're an agency and you have multiple businesses that you work with and you have a lot of clients, the agency model, which costs $698, will allow you to do not one but two designs on a basis. So we're not just going to do the first project in the queue. We're going to do two of them at a time, and so you have double the output, which is ultimately best for agencies because they're constantly in need of all of this content.
Fantastic. Well, makes it super simple. So either you want one in the queue or you want two in the queue. So the place to get your graphics done on an unlimited basis, as we said, logo, t-shirt, website, app, social content, book cover, all that sort of stuff. If you have a lot to get done and you don't want to have to go through that whole headache of finding a freelance worker, and then once you finally found them, then maybe after a while they go away or they become lazy. If you want that consistency and you don't want to have to deal with those headaches and you want just an unlimited number of graphics made, then the place for you to go right now is penji.co. That's penji.co, and we'll see you there. And thanks, Johnathan, for stopping by and dropping just a ton of wisdom for us today.
Thank you.
Please subscribe, rate, and review our show at marketeroftheday.com/iTunes and like us on Facebook at marketeroftheday.com/Facebook.